All right, we're back here with another day, another news cycle. It is September 18th with daily news coverage. We're going to start with some of the protest news. Up first, the White House siege has been canceled. The organizers didn't want violence at it. Maybe calling it a siege wasn't a great idea. They were like, yeah, I think there's probably going to end up being a bunch of violence, and we don't really want that there. It's like, so they decided to cancel it. So no White House siege, no 50 days. With that, then rioting and protest have pretty much stopped completely at this point. There was maybe a couple of small spots here and there last night, but really nothing. So up first, we got a news article. Minneapolis business owners worry about being looted again as riots weigh on minds of voters. So since the wildfires are starting to die down, and since Hurricane Sally has kind of finished, and hurricane season is, it's not done, but I mean, it's not as strong as it was, a couple of days ago. So definitely, rioters and looters can start coming out and, just take everything, burn everything, what's ever left. So, a lot of people are probably worried. Anything that hasn't been burned down, they're probably worried might be. And I mean, with the judges, we've also got that judges lower bail for some of the Pennsylvania protesters charged with rioting. I mean, you remember the sorority girl that, you remember the sorority girl story from a couple of days ago, and yeah, her bail pretty much got set to $50,000, the exact price of how much she's pretty much made from the GoFundMe that they allowed to happen. Just someone charged for arson. Apparently, they're getting house arrest. Some of them have a little bit higher fee, up to it ranged from $25,000 to $100,000, and I mean, that's what the bail is set to. You only pay about 10% anyway, so I mean, this ritzy girl just earned almost 50 grand for herself by committing arson. So think about that. Think about that. Nancy Pelosi finally came out to condemn the rioters. Speaker Pelosi, we support peaceful demonstrations. We participate in them. They are part of the essence of our democracy. That does not include looting, starting fires, or rioting. That should be prosecuted. That is lawless. Well, finally, I mean, it only took you 4 months, over 100 days, almost 120 days to finally condemn them. Once they stopped, it stopped benefiting your party. Next on the list, we got National Foundation for Gun Rights raises $50K to support Kenosha shooting suspect Kyle Rittenhouse. So $50K, in support for the ritzy girl who committed arson, and $50K for a kid who defended himself. Now, I mean, both these people are pretty much around the same age. I mean, which one you'd say is better? Which one is worse? That's all perspective. At this point, I don't know who you could say who's worse, who's good, who's bad. I'm not gonna say that now. I'm just here to point out. Kyle Rittenhouse got $50,000. The ritzy girl, $50,000. She here to earn that. She got out of prison. She's gonna get house arrest. See what happens. Next on the list, we got group led by blah 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 blah. Up next, we got a group led by Black Lives Matter founder is fiscally sponsored project of pro-China org report. A group led by one of the founders of Black Lives Matter has ties to a progressive pro-China organization that acts as a fiscal sponsor to the group, according to a new report by a conservative think tank. Black Futures Lab, which says it works with black people to transform our communities, building black political power and changing the way that power operates, locally, statewide, and nationally, is headed by Alicia Garza, one of the co-founders of Black Lives Media. But a new Heritage Foundation investigation has found that the Black Futures Lab's website says the group is a project of a pro-China group called the Chinese Progressive Association. Black Futures Lab is a fiscally sponsored project of the Chinese Progressive Association. The donate section of the website says, clicking on the banner on the page takes the user to the CPA website. The CPA was founded in 1972 and says it educates, organizes, and empowers the low-income and working-class immigrant Chinese community in San Francisco to build collective power with other oppressed communities to demand better living and working conditions and justice for all people. But the Heritage Foundation describes it as an organization that has long supported the communist government in Beijing. From its start, it has been a promoter of the People's Republic of China, the report says. Neither Black Futures Lab nor the Chinese Progressive Associate responded to request nor comment from Fox News. The Heritage investigation found that the Boston chapter teamed up with the Chinese Consulate General in New York to offer Chinese nationals to renew passports, picking up praise from Chinese state media, and has sponsored the Chinese flag flying over Boston City Hall to honor the Chinese Revolution. It also cites an essay by one of the CPA's co-founders in which they called for a revolutionary strategy to achieve a fundamentally different society. The report also found that the CPA picked up praise recently again from Chinese state media for taking part in Black Lives Matter protests in San Francisco. Communist China has put its vast propaganda apparatus to work in support of the mayhem that has wreaked havoc in American cities this year. Heritage Foundation's Mike Gonzalez wrote in the report, China is, after all, a rival of the United States and would see weakening of U.S. society and the country in general as advantageous. I mean, they would. The involvement of an outfit has closely associated with the Chinese government in the funding of one of Garza's ventures is something else entirely, however, he says. I mean, Black Lives Matter could be backed by the Chinese government, but it's not entirely likely. It's, they're probably getting maybe a little bit of money, but nothing too bad. We got from Politico here, the Justice Department explored possibility of charging Portland officials amid unrest. The Justice Department explored whether it could pursue either criminal or civil rights charges against city officials in Portland, Oregon, after clashes erupted there night after night between law enforcement and demonstrators, a department spokesperson said Thursday. Yeah, Barr was talking about going after Durkin, possibly Wheeler. Governors, who knows, DAs. There's a lot of people that he could go after for all these protests. Next up, he got shots fired at home of 2 New Jersey police officers who were inside with their 10-day-old child. They basically said that the officers, the community knows that the officers live here. So it was a targeted attack, on more officers. We've got an Arizona teen ambush a state trooper with AK-47 in Phoenix residential area as well. The kid just got out of the car, started unloading, and then the state trooper started firing back, and then they took off. They caught the kid, but the driver of the vehicle is still at large. Now we've got hundreds gather for Chicago's Back the Blue rally. Some peaceful protesting. Yeah, we've got some peaceful protesting here. Nothing violent. Nothing that I heard of that was violent at this rally. Hundreds in Chicago gathered for a Back the Blue rally to support the police on Wednesday evening. The large crowd of people gathered in Jefferson Park, sporting their thin blue line flags and other paraphernalia. What'd you call it paraphernalia? Redo this paragraph. The large crowd of people gathered in Jefferson Park sporting their thin blue line flags and other paraphernalia in support of law enforcement, while a small counter-protest was on the other side of the police barricades, WFLD reported. The numbers are proving that there are more people who support and love the police and value the service they provide our communities. Monica Barsamo, a wife and mother of the police officers, told WLS. With the latest things that are happening, look at cops are being shot. Cops are being shot at. It's starting to happen all over. Cops getting shot at. Cops getting shot at. What do you think's going to happen? Support for the cops is going to start going up. Here we've got Black Lives Matter. Support slides 12% this summer. Polls show it's been falling rapidly, especially with the shootings that have been happening. It's just going down and down and down. It's just been negative. It's been negative press nonstop for probably the last month against them. It's no wonder. So it's probably only going to keep going down from here, unless I guess something sparks up and rallies people, to join it again. But with all the violence they've been doing lately, I don't know. I mean, more and more times they go out and protest and riot, support is going down and down, and I mean, we covered yesterday there was $2 billion in damages throughout these riots. Can't really call that mostly peaceful, can you? Alright, last on it is California man 33 punches elderly Trump supporter 84 and two others at MAGA rally before being brought down by retired cop after blowing smoke in their faces and burning a sign. This happened in California. California man has been arrested after he allegedly attacked several people, including an elderly woman, during a rally held in support of President Donald Trump on Wednesday night. Elvin Gary Shaw, 33, confronted the small group of people during the gatherings in Aliso Viejo, 50 miles south of Los Angeles, around 6:30 p.m. Blew smoke in some of the supporters' faces and used his cigar to burn one person's Trump sign, according to local reports. He also reportedly punched two people, including an 84-year-old woman, and knocked a third person to the ground before he was taken away in handcuffs. Now, witnesses say it wasn't just like a big full punch, but it was just kind of more like a slap. But still, 84-year-old woman, she's gonna get hurt worse than, just a normal person being slapped. It's stuff like this that, make support for Trump, or for Black Lives Matter, just start to go down, and support for Trump start to go up. And these are coming out all the time, daily now. And more stories. Like, I've got 2 on cops here, got hundreds gathering for a rally, and then MAGA supporters being terrorized. But, even the Democrats have their goods. I guess they're good days. Especially with, I gotta find it, with the chick that, had the $1 million bond go down to $50,000, and then, earning all that money, along with the other people that were, the other 13 also earned anywhere between $10,000 to $25,000 also. So, all of them made a little bit of money, it seems. That is the protest news. We will now move on to election news. Twitter's public policy director leaves to join Biden transition team report. Basically doing the same job, but it seems clear bias that Twitter is on the side of Democrat. Even though they claim to be unbiased, it's starting to seem more evident that they're not. Former Democratic aide has reportedly left his post as director of public policy at Twitter to join former Vice President Joe Biden's transition team. The outlet reported that Monhe has served on Biden's infrastructure policy committee, although it's unclear what his role will be on the transition team. I think there's rumors that it's going to basically do the same thing that he did at Twitter, but who knows? It's kind of a public policy director. Next, we've got Trump administration announces $13 billion in additional aid to Puerto Rico. That's for the Hurricane Maria, for the aftermath in 2017. I'm sure there's probably some other damages with the other hurricanes and everything, so, $13 billion is going to help them a lot. So it's good to see that they've finally gotten some relief money. Now we've got Joe Biden slams Donald Trump as close to criminal and A.G. Barr as sick for comparing lockdowns to slavery, as he says he would mandate masks on federal land and levy fines to set example for nation. Yeah, you can't really talk smack at all, really, Joe Biden, because you want mask mandate across the entire nation. That's completely unconstitutional. See, we got Democratic nominee Joe Biden went after Attorney General Bill Barr for saying that coronavirus lockdown orders were the greatest intrusion on civil liberties in American history since slavery, and called Donald Trump's handling of COVID close to criminal. Quite frankly, they're sick, Biden remarked, of Barr's comments at a Thursday night CNN town hall with Anderson Cooper, held just outside his hometown of Scranton, PA, Pennsylvania. I never ever thought I would see such a thoroughly, totally irresponsible administration. Yeah, I mean, Biden had the town hall, and it was... I have it here that CNN basically got slammed for soft questions during Biden town hall. I mean, yeah, he I didn't really watch most of it. I caught a couple of questions, but it was pretty much softball questions coming up. I'm not talking about the game softball. I mean, like, he just... Of course he's not going to get tough questions. Why would he? He doesn't get tough questions, and they give Trump nonsensical ones. Both town halls are just crap. That's why the ratings start to tank. Why the ratings are tanking. It's because they're just crap. No one wants to watch them. We got confirmed Twitter's manipulated media rules don't apply to Joe Biden. You guys remember a couple of days ago that Trump had a video get labeled as manipulated because of the Despacito, changing that out, and gotten a few tweets, gotten called out, or not called out, but labeled as manipulated. But nothing by Joe Biden, even though it had a clip, and the audio bit was just a bunch of stuff spliced together, basically trying to say that coronavirus is their new hoax, and it's just, yeah, they spliced it together. It's even saying, we got it right here, that this is where he says coronavirus. Way down here, nearly almost a minute later, he talks about this is their new hoax. So here's the full, I'm going to read the full thing for you guys. Now, the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. You know that, right? Coronavirus. They're politicizing it. We did one of the great jobs. You say, how's President Trump doing? They go, oh, not good, not good. They have no clue. They don't have any clue. They can't even count their votes in Iowa. They can't even count. No, they can't. They can't count their votes. He gets redundant. I will say that. Oh, it's very redundant. One of my people came up to me and said, Mr. President, they tried to beat you on Russia. They didn't work. That didn't work out too well. They couldn't do it. They tried the impeachment hoax. That was on a perfect conversation. They tried anything. They tried it over and over. They've been doing it since you got in. It's all turning. It's all turning. They lost. It's all turning. Think of it. And this is their new hoax. But basically, the coronavirus and the hoax thing is just so. But Biden's ad didn't get flagged as manipulated media, and there might be a reason. Maybe because Twitter is in line with them. Lastly, we got Biden and Trump visit Minnesota as the state begins early voting. So that's coming up next. They're visiting Minnesota next. That's it on election stuff. Some coronavirus news, and then it goes into mail-in voting. So Biden changes answer on National Mask Mandate Authority again, says he would not have power to enforce it. Well, of course he wouldn't. And then we'll move on. Fauci says that Trump and Redfield were both right about vaccine distribution timeline. Yeah, sure. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's leading infectious disease expert, said that President Trump and Centers for Disease Control Director Robert Redfield were both right about the distribution timeline for a coronavirus vaccine. President Trump said Wednesday that Redfield had made a mistake when he told Congress a vaccine wouldn't be widely available until the second or third quarter of next year. The president said Redfield was confused and that, in fact, the vaccine would be distributed very rapidly. He added that under no circumstance will it be as late as the doctor said. Mr. Trump claimed Wednesday, "We are on track to deliver and distribute the vaccine in a very, very safe and effective manner, and we think we can start sometime in October." So yeah, Trump said October. Robert Redfield said summer of next year. I mean, I guess they can be both right. I mean, we'll see what happens when they start rolling out the vaccines. That's pretty much all you can. That's all you can do as a civilian. Just wait. See what happens. Fauci just saying I would still put my money on vaccine by November or December. And that's the CDC head claiming. Just more articles. We also got the CDC reverses course on testing asymptomatic people for COVID-19 again. So people that have been in contact with other people with COVID-19, they're saying that they need to be tested. So that's by the CDC, just flip-flopping all over the place, just, whatever fits the plot. We got Washington Post. White House nixed plan to distribute 650 million masks through the USPS, United States Postal Service. And, I wouldn't trust them. They would have just taken them, hoarded them, gotten rid of them, done something. That's what they're doing all with mail-in ballots like crazy. I mean, they do it all the time. That's why we're going to be getting into the mail-in ballots next, because there's just... Why would you trust them? If they're dumping mail-in ballots already, then why would you trust them with all the face masks to protect this country? I wouldn't. So on our next one, we got vote by mail restrictions in Mississippi leave voters frustrated and confused. Mississippi and 4 other states, Indiana, Texas, Louisiana, and Tennessee, continue to limit vote by mail access and don't consider the pandemic to be a valid reason for absentee voting. So, good. Good. I think as much in-person voting as needs to be possible, that's the higher integrity as we can get, because that mail-in voting is not good. We got batches of USPS mail are dumped across LA, prompting Adam Schiff to demand insurances because millions are concerned the mail-in ballots won't be counted. Now, this is from a week ago, but it still applies because, hey, USPS just dumping mail, and especially the mail-in ballots, it's not gonna... That's why I wouldn't trust them with the mask. Why wouldn't... You can't trust them. We got more mail votes are now going to count in crucial Pennsylvania. So the Pennsylvania Supreme Court just ruled that many mail-in ballots that aren't received by Election Day will now be counted. So if they come after Election Day, they'll still be counted. Who knows how many random votes will show up after the election. Pennsylvania is going to be... could be a mess. And now we got long lines at Virginia polling stations as early voting gets underway. Early in-person voting for the 2020 general election kicked off on Friday in Virginia, and the long lines of voters waiting to cast a ballot quickly materialized in some polling stations. They were reporting about 4-hour lines. So, yeah, good. People wanna vote in person. I think they just want to be able to do something as well. They've been in lockdown for so long. I mean, hell, give them something to do. Hey, vote in person. All right. So that's with the mail-in voting and some coronavirus. Lastly, we'll move into some of the miscellaneous, a little bit of the weather. We got some drone footage reveals the trail of devastation left by Hurricane Sally that tore through Florida, Alabama, and Georgia, killing 3 people. As new depression forms in the Gulf and set sights on Texas. So yeah, we just got, something doesn't quite look quite right there. A lot of those boats look a little too close to each other. I don't think some of these boats can get out. So yeah, they got all pushed, damaged. Just a good amount of destruction. Still a good amount of flooding. Yeah, gators were in the streets. Some were seeing like 35-foot gators just in the middle of the street, swimming down in the flood. And like, oh, jeez. Scary, yeah. Canoeing down the street. A lot of destruction. It was like 29 million was reported in like one county in northern Florida. Next then, miscellaneous. We got Trump administration to ban Americans from downloading TikTok and WeChat on Sunday. Trump administration announced Friday morning that it will ban Chinese-owned messaging and payment app WeChat effective Sunday and block new downloads of video sharing app TikTok the same day over national security concerns. So you will not be able to download those apps as of Sunday. A broader ban of TikTok will be delayed until November 12th, with a takeover of its U.S. operations still in the works. So yeah, they gave them time to find a U.S. company, which Oracle had bought TikTok. I mean, Oracle says that they're going to look at the scripting to make sure that it's not being manipulated by the Chinese government, but I don't really buy it as much. It would operate just the same. People can just use a VPN to, probably bypass the ban anyways. So it's not like people aren't going to be able to get it. They still will, but you just kind of have to go through a few more hurdles in order to get it. That's all. Pretty much the ban has been littering the news cycle. Every single news site has it on their top page. So there's just 3 of them here for you. Wall Street Journal, ABC News. They were all saying something about it. Next, we got Betsy DeVos' big idea. Funding students rather than systems for school choice. So she kind of just wanted, people to be able to have students be able to actually pick their own schools. That was basically the plan here. That's pretty much it. The period of time with the pandemic is really helping encourage a lot of new thinking about the way we've always done things, DeVos said in an interview. As DeVos and the Trump administration insisted schools reopen this fall for in-person instruction, she also backed school choice funding within the pandemic relief response. She says could help students stuck with closed schools find new opportunities. $300 billion in Senate Republican coronavirus relief proposal contains several school choice efforts, including the creation of a federal education tax credit worth $5 billion annually to help students attend private schools, which that's good. Hey, I believe in school choice here. That's pretty good. The public education system is just not good, and as I'll show you, it's getting worse. Because a Buffalo school teacher teaching students to question nuclear family as part of BLM integrated curriculum. A public school in Buffalo, New York has integrated Black Lives Matter propaganda into its curriculum for elementary school children, encouraging them to question the importance of the nuclear family, Fox News has learned. According to several lesson plans obtained by Tucker Carlson tonight, the unnamed Buffalo public school has instructed students in the 4th and 5th grades to question the importance of their own family as part of a broader effort to promote a radically left-wing agenda in line with the Black Lives Matter movement. The lesson plans prepared by the Buffalo Public Schools Office of Culturally and Linguistically Responsive Initiatives instruct teachers to discuss various guiding principles with the students, including Black villages, which they described as the disruption of Western nuclear family dynamics and a return to the collective village that takes care of each other. They are teaching to your kids that your family should be destroyed. Tucker Carlson said on his show Thursday, "Why are we allowing this? You know what this is. It's an all-out war on the most important thing we have, which is the American family." At the conclusion of the lesson, students of the 5th grade are asked to complete an assignment responding to a prompt that explores a society without separate nuclear family units. I mean, it's fine to talk about it, put it up, into theory and explore, different things, but it's not for elementary school kids. That's something probably more in high school where you should kind of just where they should be expanding their mind to just different ideas, at the very least. I'm not saying it's necessarily a good or bad thing here, but there's definitely a couple of bad ideas that shouldn't, all of this shouldn't be taught to elementary school kids, at the very least. And then we've also got, in the education, Donald Trump calls 1619 Project toxic propaganda and blames left-wing schools indoctrination for rioting as he unveils 1776 Commission for Patriotic Curriculum and says he will honor slave owner founding father. I mean, see, President Donald Trump delivered a gloomy speech on race and remembrance after a summer of protest where he sought to tie violence and unrest to left-wing ideology and credited indoctrination through schools with causing street rioting. He called for a new 1776 commission he said will work to produce patriotic education as a solution to ideological currents he cast as a grave threat to the nation. I mean, I think both are bad. Pushing 1619 is just blatantly lying, and you don't really want the government to be telling you what it is anyways, so it's You just need people. We need an actual education system to work as it actually should, not a propaganda arm. And that's all it's going to stay as a public. And I think that's why Betsy DeVos' idea here is good, that kids should be able to choose private schools, and we should be able to help fund that. It's about teaching them just different skills. That's all it really comes down to. Now we got Princeton University may be forced to pay back $75 million in federal funding after its president admitted racism was embedded at the school. The U.S. Department of Education launched an investigation into Princeton University after its president acknowledged that racism remained embedded at the institution. Officials with the Trump administration on Wednesday addressed a letter to Princeton University President Christopher Eisgruber over his recent comments about systemic racism. The Department of Education noted that Princeton University had received more than $75 million in federal funding despite potentially not adhering to the Title VI mandates. No person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any project or activity receiving federal financial assistance, according to the DOE. Based on its admitted racism, the U.S. Department of Education is concerned Princeton's non-discrimination and equal opportunity assurances in its program participation agreements from at least 2013 to the present may have been false, the letter read. I mean, these schools already, $75 million is probably nothing to Princeton anyways. But hey, these schools are making hundreds of millions, billions. Last bit of news before we sign out is House Democrats ramp up effort to thwart Durham probe and call for emergency investigation. The Democratic chairs of 4 House committees asked the Justice Department's internal watchdog on Friday to open an emergency investigation into U.S. Attorney John Durham's probe of the Obama administration's Trump-related intelligence activities. We write to ask that you open an emergency investigation into whether U.S. Attorney General William Barr, U.S. Attorney John Durham, and other Department of Justice political opponents are following DOJ's long-standing policy to avoid taking official actions or other steps that could improperly influence the upcoming presidential election. I'm more worried about the Democrats, to be honest, but hey, get security on both sides, that's all I gotta say. Just make sure nobody can cheat. But hey, they're trying. The Democrats are mostly trying to push that mail-in voting. That's the biggest red flag. That's the biggest red flag I can say right now, at the very least. But there's a lot of red flags. Alright, well, with that, we're going to end today daily news coverage, September 18th. This is New Truth News, signing out.